Welcome back. It is 6:42. March is Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Month. MS is an autoimmune disease that affects the central nervous system. It affects nearly 1 million Americans, and including my husband, Mark, recently diagnosed. It is also a condition Maryland's new First Lady, Dawn Moore, has been living with for more than 20 years. She has a mild form of the disorder. It shows up differently for almost everybody. And yesterday, she invited me to Government House in Annapolis to talk about an array of topics, including how she is living and thriving despite MS. My husband, Mark, had a conversation with the governor, and he was talking about his recent diagnosis of MS. And the governor shared with him that this is something that we live with. So this is where this question is coming from. How do you manage that diagnosis with your really busy schedule? And what's the advice for others, especially Marylanders living with MS?
When I was diagnosed over 20 years ago. And I have been very blessed to have a benign, what would be considered a benign course with the illness. But when you are diagnosed, you do not know that. And I went through a very difficult diagnosis process because at that age, I think part of it is that no one wants to give you that diagnosis and you're hoping that it's something else, and you having gone through it, it's a differential diagnosis. But I also think, as a young woman of color, I think I wasn't always being heard. I think I wasn't always being listened to. And I remember going to see the first doctor when I had double vision, I had lost the taste in my mouth, my gait was off, and he literally said to me, "I think you're 2 type A, and I think you're having a nervous breakdown." And I mean, that was shocking because I knew that's not what it was. We know our bodies.
Some people have flare-ups. They are on a medical regimen. If you don't mind, what you feel free sharing with us or comfortable sharing, could you tell us about what your journey looks like?
So I did take a very holistic approach to my treatment. I did the medication, but I was, very, very involved with making sure that physical fitness was a huge part of it. I practiced yoga, meditation, and I decided that that was how I wanted to live with my illness, how I wanted to survive with my illness. Now, when I started having children, I decided to take myself off the medication. And I've been off of medication for about 10 years now. But also, if I need to seek treatment, I will see that. And then my husband, my sister-in-law, his baby sister also lives with MS. And so he was a partner that was there for me, and we weren't married at that time, but that's just a character of who he is. I remember my cousin saying to me, "You have this diagnosis and he hasn't left your side." There it is.
Okay. Ladies, we know, right, that there it is. He didn't go anywhere, still by her side today. And the First Lady told me that I asked her what was her regret, right? So she said not going public sooner about her MS diagnosis. And while many in her inner circle have known about it for years, this is the first time that she has done a TV interview about it. That was yesterday. This time she says she wants to help others. And guys, I just think that
powerful.
Since she is on now a national, not just a statewide, but a national platform. Her speaking out about this, talking about going to get, she got a second opinion, and the second opinion is when they said, this is MS. So, you know, you have to be an advocate for yourself.
Yes.
And if you can't be, now you got the First Lady of Maryland being an advocate for you.
How many times have we heard that story, right, about people going to the doctor, having specific symptoms, and feeling like the initial meeting that they have with the doctor, that they get dismissed, right? Misdiagnosed.
Dismissed.
And as a result, critical time is passing.
Because it is time.
Because they could be getting treatment, getting some certain support that they need.
Right.
And you hear this more often than not from folks of color about this experience, particularly as it relates to their health care.
Right.
And
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I love that last part, how she said that, you know, she's finally ready to share her story, because I do think that when you go through a diagnosis or some sort of illness, battle with that, it does take a little time to feel whole again.
Right.
And so it's your timing, it's your pace. And so I'm just so encouraged that she has finally reached that point where she feels like she can share her story, because it's going to help a lot of people, including your husband.
Mark.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. We spoke, we had an hour together, a good 50 minutes of it sitting down talking. This was not the only thing that she talked about, but this is a headline that came out of yesterday's reporting, right? Because we hadn't really heard this from the First Lady before, but we're going to have the full thing. It's coming out in the, we're going to roll it out.
I do want to ask one question. I know we have to wrap. Biggest takeaway for you during that interview?
That she wasn't necessarily on board right away with her husband running.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a different thing. She ran campaigns. It's a different thing when now you are the person who's going to be on center stage.
And you're in it. Yeah.
And you're in it. So, yes.